Hello everyone and welcome back to our chapter on consonant sounds. And for this particular part of the chapter, we're looking at the anatomy of the mouth, right? And all the different parts to the mouth, the lips, the tongue, the jaw, and even further into our throat, we're looking at the anatomy of these parts and how they affect the various consonant sounds that we've looked at in this chapter, how those parts of the mouth and so on are used to create these consonant sounds. So we call this the speech pathway. Speech pathway begins in our lungs where we create air, blow out air, and then continues through our throat and mouth or through our nose. And the different positions of our tongue, lips, and other parts of the speechway change the airstream and result in these different consonant sounds. It's very interesting. It's something we don't consciously think about, but if you are to take inventory of all these parts and you associate these different parts of the speech pathway with the consonant chart that we looked at the very beginning of the chapter, if you're consciously aware of the relationship of the parts and these different consonant sounds, then you can zoom in on this consonant chart. Then you can zoom in on what part of the speech pathway you need to work on, because this is probably not a part of the speech pathway that you have used for your first language. So it's kind of like building up a muscle, like with exercise, like your arms or your legs or your stomach. You're building up strength in the production of these consonant sounds that again may not exist in your first language. So let's take a look at exercises 6 and 7. Exercise 6 asks you to identify the different parts of the speech pathway. Here you have the anatomy of the mouth labeled, and you need to write the number of the part of the speechway. So for example, number 1 would be the nose. Number 2 is the nasal cavity. Number 3 would be your upper lip. And number 4 would be your upper teeth, and so on. So label all of these all the way down 13 are what we call our vocal cords. When you speak, and you, especially those voiced consonant sounds, you're going to hear a little bit of a vibration. Well, you're going to hear a vibration in general, but especially with those voiced consonant sounds. Right here is what we call our vocal cords. That may not be a term that you're familiar with, but everything else is pretty straightforward. You could also look this up on Google. If you were to Google speech pathway, and especially look in images, you'll find the labels for these terms if you want to double check and make sure. So that's exercise 6. For exercise 7, you are to refer to the different parts of the speech pathway, refer to the consonant chart. Consonant chart's at the very beginning of the chapter. And based on the different consonant sounds, you're going to identify which part of the speech pathway, whether it be the lips, the tongue, your teeth, your jaw, the different parts of the inside of the mouth, whether that's the gum ridge, which remember is right here. This is your gum ridge. The hard palate, which is kind of like the middle of your mouth, top of your mouth. Soft palate, is way back here at the very back of the top of your mouth. And then, of course, your throat, which is where the consonant sound H comes from, well, that's here, right? The air is coming from, originating in your throat. So refer to the consonant chart, refer to the top here, which refers to tongue placement, where your tongue is placed in producing these consonant sounds. Use that as a reference, and then answer the questions for exercise 7. So for example, the first one, say the sounds p, 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 as in pet, and b, 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 as in bet, p, pet, b, bet, and m, 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 met. What part of the mouth stops the airstream? B, m. You can see it's your upper lip and lower lip. Upper lip, b, 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 and lower lip, b, 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 m. So your answer to number 1 would be your lips, right? Upper and lower lips. That's what stops the air. Number 2, say the sounds f, 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 as in 5, v, 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 as in very. Notice the only difference between f and v is voiceless and voiced. Which part of the mouth lightly touches the lower lip? F, 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 v, v, v. Which part of the mouth lightly touches the lower lip? F, v. It's your upper teeth. Upper teeth would be your answer to number 2. Now remember, exercise 7 has 5 questions. Don't forget about question number 5 there on page 152. And those are your instructions for 6 and 7. Label each of the parts of the speech pathway using the photo there. And then for exercise 7, practice those consonant sounds. Refer to the consonant chart at the beginning of the chapter, and then identify the parts of the speech pathway that are used to produce those consonant sounds.